Now, I'm not going to apologize for this audio that you're about to listen to. This is Little Boosie, who I have over my shoulder primarily as a reminder of what we must not do. Now, I love Rap Snacks because of the mission behind it, and I love Wise Intelligent and all of the people involved. But Lil Boosie is one of the most problematic people in our culture, but he's in our culture and he's prevalent in our culture. So I remind myself that I'm not the norm. He's more the norm than I am. And I don't know what to do with that, but we're going to have a conversation today. Like, my way of thinking is very much not the majority. His is. So I'm going to play this audio from an interview he just did. The question was, if you got a lot of money, what's the first thing, the lottery was going on. There was $1 billion. What would you do if you got the money? And here's his response. What's your dream day like? Okay. Go, Smiz.
I wake up, I win the lottery, right? And this the big lottery. I'm talking about damn near $1 billion, right? I do a press interview, talk about all the money I done made, what I'm going to do with it. Rihanna call the phone. Congratulations on your victory. Good job, big bull. I hit her back. Man, let me fly you out, man. About you, Riri. And she just fall right there. Of course. You heard? I know I can't be on no little boy jet. You heard? I won't buy that jet. How much you want for that jet? Then I'm going to get Riri, you heard? Laid back, you heard? And I flew my kids in on another jet. Come on, stepmom. Rihanna, stepmom.
Do we want that, ladies? Do we want it beaten up? I don't know. Maybe some of y'all do. Maybe I'm approved. I don't know. 866-801-8255. That was Torrance Ivy Hatch, 41 years old, father of many children. Well, sire of many children. I'm going to say that. Y'all go ahead. Y'all can add me there too. Goes by Lil Boosie. Or simply Boosie. I guess he's not little anymore. Yeah, he's got a pot belly. So he's medium, maybe large Boosie. Hi, Dr. Mitchell. How do you feel when you hear him? If he got $1 billion, not I'm going to start a fund school. I'm going to fly Rihanna out. I'm going to buy a jet. We're going to smoke some. Mm-hmm. That's his dream day.
The question I have is, are we sure that he represents more of our community than you? And to my mind, that's the real question, because I don't know. I don't run into a lot of people who have the mindset that he just articulated, even though it may be prevalent in our music. So I just don't buy this idea that he represents the vast majority of our community. So that's where I would want to begin.
Okay, so he has 1.2 million followers. I have 130,000 on Twitter. I'm going to say he's got 10 times more followers than I have. It's not about me. I don't care. Y'all ain't got to follow me. I'll probably block 1 million people. I definitely block thousands. That's neither here nor there. Whether people follow me or not is not about me. What I'm saying is, you judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. He has 1.2 million people following him. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I feel you on that, except that we also know that online life is not real life. Right. So when we, in the same way that the music doesn't necessarily represent real life. So when we have online assuring us that Joe Biden would never get the nomination, in real life, you talk to people and it's obvious that he was going to get the nomination. So that's part of where I would push back a little bit.
But you're bringing in politics, which let's stick with culture for a second.
Okay,
because
let's stick with culture.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. If Urban View were a popular channel when I got here, Karen Hunter could not be on these airwaves. If you look at the moves that companies make, even, CNN, let's move Don Lemon because he's popular. Oh, let's get Van Jones. Don't nobody like Van Jones, but y'all bringing him in because you think he's, and then their ratings are indicative because they're making decisions based on fame, right? Not based on moving the needle. Like, they're not planning for the future that they want to exist in. They're planning for, like, right now, who's going to move the needle. I hear what you're saying, but I know for a fact, because I've been on the back end of this in terms of propelling people through my books or whatever, or being the voice behind things or the pen behind things. I've literally given people platforms that they didn't have and watched them blow up. And so I know what the formula is, and it's not rooted in anything that makes any damn sense whatsoever. So I'm constantly scratching my head about it, because I'm like, are we that easy? Are we that easily led? And the answer is yes. So I guess little by little every day, my job is to just tap you on the shoulder, ask you to ask yourself why. Why do I like this? Oh, that's my jam. Why is that your jam that's got you out there being skeeted on? You literally, they're telling you just skeet, and you're like, yeah, give it to me.
Okay. We'll stick in culture then, as you say. And I will admit, Little Boosie is not someone that I know anything about. So maybe I'm out of my depth even trying to talk about him, because the idea that he has that many followers is blowing my mind right now. Honestly, I have no idea who he is. So this is what I will say, is that because what I admitted to you offline is that I disagree with you on this N-word thing. So if I can just explain that part, is that a valid direction?
Okay. All right. But yes. And before you do, though, because I want to have this conversation, and Pam Keith can jump in. Smith, push it back a little bit, because I want to sit with this for a minute with Dr. Caretha, especially since she disagrees. I want to get into this, but I also want to say, and this is again from the book space, right? So I have colleagues of mine, and I have 30 New York Times, I have 30 books and 8 New York Times bestsellers, right? And every faculty meeting, somebody has a book that 10 people bought. And most of them were their family members. And I just published a book, and I'd sit there and I wouldn't say a word, even though I have literally a book on the bestsellers list, because in my colleagues' minds, this is not scholarly work. But I would say, don't you want people to read your little dissertations, right? So, and we've had a little bit of this conversation off mic. You know, it's good to make the rounds with your nice books, but the reality is you want people to read them. One of my best-selling books, I'm gonna tell you, my best-selling books as a writer: Confessions of a Video Vixen, The Wendy Williams Experience, and On the Down Low. Those books sold so much more than Children of Children Keep on Coming, which has Romare Bearden's original sketches, and it's a history lesson to take us through the middle passages and all. I mean, the book is beautiful, and y'all ain't buy that book. You bought, she gave blowjobs. Love that. Mwah, chef's kiss. Give us more of that, publishers. Give us more of that. So then Nas's baby mama came out with a book, and that sold like, it's no secret. And I'm in the publishing arena at this point. I'm like, this is how y'all gonna make this person a best-selling author? Then they signed Snooki. I was like, this is just, we're all going to hell. This is done making, and it was a bestseller. I was like, who's buying a book? You know that woman can't even read. And then Lil Wayne and them bought Donald Goines, and I almost lost my mind because I know they don't read. But how do you have control over Donald Goines? This is an abomination. I either have to accept it or every day try to have a conversation about it. So while I do understand, what you're saying in terms of, but the reality is people, the masses are not having this erudite, this, and I think you might be, you read too much, Dr. Mitchell. I'm equal parts ratchet in my private life. So and I think you delusionally think you're ratchet, but you're not.
I totally am, actually.
No, you're absolutely not. I said, you are so delusional. You think you're Meg the Stallion? Are you sick? There's
I
no
am
way.
my body double.
Oh my God. I don't know if we can have this conversation. All right, but tell me why you disagree with the N-word.
Okay, here's the bottom line for me about this. The fact that we are speaking English is already an expression of violence. So if I give over to the violence, I have to give everything over. If I give away my power to create, then I've really, really lost. What I believe is that despite the fact that I'm speaking English, there is room to be creative, and I would never want to stifle our creativity. So that's the reason why the N-word to me is not an issue, especially in art. I would also say, though, I will admit that I say this based on the fact that I do not raise children. I am very deliberately child-free. So what parents need to do is a whole different thing for what I'm talking about. But here's my thing, Karen. The violence that I've experienced in my life is a lot more attached to words like thug and fast. The straight-laced Black people that I know who would never use the N-word very casually, without anger, call people thugs and call girls fast. And I'm here to tell you that there has been a lot more violence in my life based on people being able to call me fast and let things happen to me. So to my mind, we need to be really precise about the fact that language is not just the words. It does matter the intention. And so let's not pretend that a word by itself means any particular thing. The meaning comes from the context and much more than the simple word. And so I think we're being disingenuous when we act as if we don't know the difference between the N-word being used in an artistic way or affectionate way versus a violent way. We know those differences. And if we're going to convince people not to use the N-word, it's not going to be based on pretending that we don't know that there's a difference.
Of course.
So much more
Right, of course, but
fast.
It's a difference without distinction to me, because just like we're talking about policing, that word was forged in violence. That word was forged in violence against us, just like the police, the patty rollers were forged in violence against us. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about embracing the police. We're talking about just the opposite, that this whole thing needs to be dismantled. And I think if we're going to ask humanity to respect us, if we're gonna say to the world, to ourselves, that we're worthy of something, and as a creative person, which we both are, if you're telling me that I can't be creative unless I use this word, I'm going to challenge your creativity. If you're like, I should be able to paint with every color in is what you're saying, every color in the color wheel. That's what you're saying. I should not have to leave a color out. But if that color paints you and me as something other than a human being, I'm going to say, perhaps we can find out how to make this picture beautiful without it. And I feel like the idea
of the perhaps we can find another way, but that's different from acting as if people who use that word can be thrown out. That's different.
No, I've never called for that. I don't think I've called for that. I don't think I've called for that. No, we embrace. Dr. Martin Luther King used that word. I've heard some of y'all's favorite civil rights leaders use that word in private. I've used that word over the card table against my parents. You know, we did that on Sundays while we're listening to James Cleveland and Shirley Caesar. There's a cultural meaning to that for us, but we've embraced, like chitlins, something that was meant for us to not be nourished. And I'm saying we should mature into being people who get the choicest of meats, and we treat each other that way.
I definitely agree with that, but there are two things. Number one, the idea that because we use the word, or our artists use the word, I'll say that, because the truth is I don't actually use it, but that our artists.
Wait, why don't you use it?
I never have, and
it
wouldn't even feel natural coming from me.
Okay, so
I didn't grow up with it.
Something about you never using the N-word yourself, but
I don't. But it's important to me that artists and that we don't denigrate artists who use it, or that we automatically operate as if they are a plague on the culture. Like, to me, that is a problem, because I don't like the idea of curbing creativity. At the end of the day, it is not going to be the case that because we don't use the word, that white people all of a sudden will be decent. That is never the case. And so the idea that we would put even more standards on already marginalized communities, that if you use the word, then you're justifying them using it, that logic does not work for me.
Well, fortunately, that's not my logic. I don't give a damn what they do, period, full stop. My thing is about us in community. And I feel like if I'm addressing you, you're my sister, you're my baba, you're my friend, you're not my N-word, and you will never be my N-word, because that's not who I see you as. When Dr. Black was on a couple of weeks ago, he said something that messed me up, because I never thought about it until he said it. And he said, when you close your eyes, open your eyes when you pray, because you need to look into the humanity of the person as you pray to God, because you should be able to see God in that person. And I was like, whoa.